Steven Tyler built his reputation as rock and roll's most unpredictable frontman.
Isn't that the way? Everybody got the dues and I the pay.
But his explosive personality created enemies faster than Aerosmith could sell records. The man behind Dream On and Sweet Emotion never learned to keep his mouth shut.
They were looking for another lead singer, so I figured I'd fix them good, right?
Really? Were you?
Well, I love this show.
Turning casual disagreements into full-scale wars that rocked the entire music industry. While fans worshipped his wild stage performances and signature screams, Tyler was busy alienating fellow musicians with brutal honesty that crossed every professional boundary.
I said, you need to get the fucking back together again soon because we all miss you. Same thing someone said to me when Joe and I were fighting.
His razor-sharp tongue cut down legends and newcomers alike, creating decades of bitter resentment throughout the rock community. These weren't simple misunderstandings or temporary disputes. Tyler's confrontational approach destroyed friendships, split touring packages, and created permanent divisions that still influence rock politics today. His inability to filter his thoughts turned private conversations into public scandals that dominated music headlines. You won't believe which grunge pioneer he dismissed as whining garbage during a backstage encounter that nearly sparked violence. Or discover how his comments about a fellow rock legend's abilities led to a feud that lasted over 2 decades and split their mutual fan base. Get ready to explore Steven Tyler's most explosive relationships, where rock star egos collide and legendary musicians reveal their pettiest, most vindictive sides in battles that defined an entire generation of music. 6. Axel Rose. Starting our countdown at number 6 is Steven Tyler's explosive rivalry with Guns N' Roses frontman Axel Rose. A clash that divided rock fans and created one of music's most legendary ego battles.
I'm sure I'm not solely, but I did meet Axel in a couple of clubs.
The conflict began in the late 1980s when both singers were competing for recognition as rock's ultimate frontman. Music journalists constantly compared their vocal ranges, stage presence, and ability to command massive audiences, creating natural tension between two performers who thrived on being the center of attention. According to former tour managers, the rivalry escalated during festival appearances where both bands shared billing. Tyler allegedly complained that Axel's notorious tardiness and backstage demands were unprofessional and gave rock music a bad reputation with promoters who expected reliable headliners. The situation exploded at the 1991 MTV Video Music Awards when both frontmen were present backstage. Multiple witnesses reported Tyler approaching Axel and making pointed comments about punctuality and respect for audiences. Axel reportedly fired back that Tyler was a washed-up relic, trying to stay relevant by criticizing younger talent. Industry insiders remember Tyler telling radio interviewers that Axel lacked the discipline and work ethic necessary for long-term success in rock music. He supposedly predicted that Guns N' Roses would collapse under the weight of Axel's ego and inability to function as part of a professional team. Their mutual animosity became obvious when neither would participate in tribute concerts or collaborative projects that featured the other performer, forcing event organizers to choose sides in rock's most petty celebrity feud. 5. Curt Cobain. At number 5, we uncover Steven Tyler's bitter disdain for Nirvana's Curt Cobain, a generational clash that exposed deep divisions between classic rock royalty and the alternative music revolution. Tyler viewed Cobain as everything wrong with modern rock music: depressed, unpolished, and deliberately anti-commercial.
Curt Cobain, when he did his videos, you looked in his eyes and he couldn't even face the camera. He was in pain. And I'm angry about Curt.
According to former MTV executives, Tyler frequently complained that grunge was destroying rock's celebratory spirit and replacing it with self-pitying nonsense that discouraged young fans from embracing life. The antagonism reached its peak during the 1992 MTV Video Music Awards rehearsals. Multiple backstage crew members witnessed Tyler confronting Cobain about his anti-establishment attitude and casual approach to performance. Tyler allegedly told Cobain that real rock stars should inspire audiences rather than drag them down with negativity and sloppy musicianship. Cobain reportedly responded by calling Tyler a corporate puppet who represented everything authentic rock musicians should reject. He supposedly accused Tyler of selling out rock's rebellious roots in exchange for mainstream acceptance and commercial success that meant nothing to genuine artists. Former Rolling Stone journalists remember Tyler giving interviews where he dismissed grunge as a fashion trend that would disappear once teenagers grew tired of being miserable. He predicted that Cobain's influence would damage rock music by teaching young musicians that technical skill and showmanship were unnecessary. Tyler's comments became particularly controversial after Cobain's death.
It almost killed me. It almost killed me. I'm telling you, you're looking at a miracle. I'm one of those guys that came back.
When music critics accused him of contributing to the hostile environment that isolated alternative artists from the established rock community. Their philosophical differences represented a fundamental split in rock culture that continues today. 4. Mick Jagger. Coming in at number 4 is Steven Tyler's decades-long competition with Rolling Stones frontman Mick Jagger. A rivalry that divided rock royalty and created uncomfortable tensions throughout the industry. The conflict stemmed from constant media comparisons between their similar stage personas, vocal styles, and flamboyant performance approaches.
No, it's one of those things where I've seen 20 that are ridiculously great. So great that I'm not sure. You know, at the end, it's not about us. It's about...
Tyler reportedly resented being called the American Mick Jagger by music critics who suggested he was copying Jagger's moves and mannerisms rather than developing his own authentic rock star identity. According to former concert promoters, the rivalry intensified during the 1970s when both bands were competing for the same venues and tour dates. Tyler allegedly told booking agents that the Stones were past their prime and that Aerosmith deserved headline status at major festivals and arena shows. The situation became personal when Jagger made comments during a British television interview suggesting that American rock bands lacked the sophistication and cultural significance of their British counterparts. Tyler reportedly viewed this as a direct attack on Aerosmith's legitimacy and fired back through American music magazines. Former record company executives remember Tyler becoming particularly upset when the Stones received more critical acclaim and industry respect despite what he considered inferior songwriting and musical arrangements. He supposedly complained that British musicians received automatic credibility that American artists had to work twice as hard to achieve. Their Cold War continued through the 1980s and 1990s, with both camps carefully avoiding direct collaboration or public appearances together. 3. Sebastian Bach. At number 3, we dive into Steven Tyler's explosive feud with Skid Row's Sebastian Bach.
Give yourself a round of applause right here on
A conflict that exposed the ugly competition within the hair metal scene of the late 1980s.
Well, because it was to see if, it was a bunch of things going on.
It was experimental.
Tyler viewed Bach as an inferior vocalist who was stealing Aerosmith's thunder during the band's comeback period. According to former MTV programmers, Tyler complained that Bach's high-pitched screaming and theatrical stage antics were cheap imitations of techniques that Aerosmith had perfected years earlier. The rivalry exploded during the 1989 Monsters of Rock tour, when both bands shared the same festival circuit. Former roadies reported backstage confrontations where Tyler accused Bach of copying his microphone techniques and stage movements without understanding the artistry behind them. Tyler allegedly told music journalists that Bach represented everything wrong with the hair metal movement: style over substance, image over musical ability, and marketing over authentic rock expression. He supposedly predicted that Skid Row would disappear once audiences realized they were witnessing a manufactured product rather than genuine rock music. The conflict reached its nastiest point when Bach started receiving vocal comparisons to Tyler in rock magazines. Former Skid Row management claimed Tyler actively discouraged radio stations from playing both artists back-to-back, arguing that the similarities confused listeners and damaged his established brand. According to industry insiders, Tyler became particularly bitter when Bach's youth and energy started attracting the same teenage audiences that had originally discovered Aerosmith. He reportedly told colleagues that Bach was exploiting nostalgia for authentic rock without paying the dues or developing the skills that real rock stars required for lasting success in the competitive music business. 2. Vince Neil. Taking the number 2 spot is Steven Tyler's bitter rivalry with Mötley Crüe's Vince Neil.
You were looking for me all around. 2 hours later, you know where I was found.
A feud that turned two of rock's wildest party animals against each other in spectacular fashion. The conflict began when both frontmen were competing for recognition as rock's ultimate bad boy during the 1980s excess era. Tyler reportedly resented media coverage that portrayed Neil as more authentic and dangerous, feeling that his own legendary debauchery deserved greater recognition and respect from rock journalists. According to former tour security, the rivalry escalated during shared festival appearances where both singers would try to outdo each other's outrageous behavior. Tyler allegedly complained that Neil's antics were calculated publicity stunts rather than genuine rock star rebellion, undermining the authenticity of musicians who lived the lifestyle naturally. The situation became personal when Tyler achieved sobriety in the late 1980s, while Neil continued his notorious partying. Former addiction counselors reported Tyler making harsh comments about Neil's inability to control his destructive habits, suggesting that real rock stars knew when to evolve beyond adolescent behavior. Tyler's criticism intensified when Neil's drunk driving conviction resulted in tragedy. According to music industry executives, Tyler told colleagues that Neil's reckless behavior was giving rock music a bad reputation and making it harder for reformed musicians to gain credibility with mainstream audiences. Former radio programmers remember Tyler actively campaigning against playing Mötley Crüe songs during Aerosmith's promotional cycles, arguing that associating his band with Neil's continued self-destruction would confuse fans about Aerosmith's commitment to professional responsibility and artistic growth. 1. Joe Perry. Taking our top spot is Steven Tyler's most complex and destructive relationship. His decades-long love-hate dynamic with Aerosmith guitarist Joe Perry, a partnership that created some of rock's greatest music while generating its most toxic internal conflicts. The rivalry began in the mid-1970s when both musicians were struggling with massive egos and competing for creative control within Aerosmith.
Approach to things and knew how to keep things in tune, relatively, keep things on the beat and everything, and I was more.
According to former band management, Tyler and Perry fought constantly over songwriting credits, musical arrangements, and who deserved recognition as the band's primary creative force. Their relationship exploded during the late 1970s drug-fueled period when both men were battling serious addiction problems. Former studio engineers reported violent arguments where Tyler accused Perry of sabotaging recording sessions through unreliability and poor musical judgment caused by substance abuse. The ultimate betrayal occurred in 1979 when Perry quit Aerosmith to form his own band, claiming Tyler's ego and controlling behavior made collaboration impossible. Tyler reportedly viewed this as personal abandonment and spent years making bitter comments about Perry's loyalty and commitment to their musical partnership. Steven Tyler's inability to control his mouth created enemies throughout his legendary career, proving that talent and honesty don't always mix well in rock music. These feuds show how ego can destroy relationships and split communities. Was Steven protecting rock's integrity or just being impossible? Share your thoughts and subscribe for more rock drama.